At 2:30 in the morning on Saturday, February 28th, 2026, while most of America slept, Donald Trump posted a video to Truth Social. He was wearing a dark suit. He spoke for less than 3 minutes, and in those 3 minutes, he changed the world. A short time ago, the United States military began major combat operations in Iran. Our objective is to defend the American people by eliminating imminent threats from the Iranian regime. Major combat operations, not airstrikes, not a limited strike. Major combat operations. The same language America used when it invaded Afghanistan in 2001, when it invaded Iraq in 2003. The language of war. The language that triggers international law, Security Council procedures, and emergency protocols at every American embassy on Earth. The language that, once spoken by a sitting president, cannot be unspoken. A U.S. official confirmed what Trump announced. American forces attacked Iran by air and sea simultaneously. Not Israel alone. Not a proxy operation with American intelligence support in the background. American aircraft and American naval vessels striking Iranian territory at the same moment. The largest American military action in the Middle East in 23 years, launched in the middle of the night on a Saturday morning, the day after the Geneva nuclear talks concluded without agreement. The diplomacy was never real. An Israeli defense official confirmed to Reuters that the attacks had been planned for months and the launch date decided weeks ago. Even as U.S. and Iranian negotiators sat across tables in Geneva, the clock was already running. The talks were not an attempt at peace. They were cover. One of the areas targeted in Tehran was near the offices of Supreme Leader Ayatollah Khamenei. But Khamenei was not there. He had been transferred to a secure location. The man America and Israel most wanted to find this morning was not where they struck. Every intelligence agency, every satellite, every asset inside Iran, every piece of intelligence the most expensive military establishment in human history could assemble. And Khamenei was not there. Because he has spent 8 months being brought to meetings blindfolded, moving through a network of underground facilities that no surface strike can reach, surrounded by a 4-layer succession government designed precisely for a morning like this one. Israel coordinated the operation and informed the U.S. in advance. Netanyahu released his own video statement thanking Trump for what he called historic leadership. He named the operation Roar of the Lion and called it the removal of an existential threat. He addressed the Iranian people directly, the Persians, the Kurds, the Azeris, and told them to cast off the yoke of tyranny. Trump went further. He posted on Truth Social telling Iranians, "The hour for your freedom is at hand. When we're finished, take over your government. It will be yours to take. This will probably be your only chance for generations." That is not a counter-proliferation campaign. That is not a strike against nuclear facilities. That is a regime change operation. The same goal that careful readings of the Geneva demands pointed toward. The same goal that 14 Muslim countries had already condemned. The same goal that China built its entire Iran strategy around preventing. Trump said it out loud at 2:30 in the morning. When we finish bombing your country, take your government back. 5 cities were struck simultaneously. Tehran, the capital and command center. Isfahan, where nuclear facilities are buried underground and where Israeli jets destroyed ballistic missile launchers. Qom, the religious heart of the Islamic Republic, the city where the clerical establishment was trained and where the regime's ideological legitimacy was born. Karaj, west of Tehran, home to nuclear-related research facilities, and Kermanshah in western Iran, the Kurdish heartland, the border region closest to American ground. Forces recently repositioned from Syria. 30 separate targets destroyed in the first wave, using AI-assisted targeting, launched simultaneously from carriers in the Arabian Sea, from Israeli air bases, and from American installations across the region. This is not a strike. This is a campaign. Iran answered within hours. The Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps announced that it was launching a counterattack. The first broad wave of Iranian missiles and drones toward Israel had begun. Not a single retaliatory strike. A wave. The language of a pre-delegated launch authority that did not need to wait for Khamenei's order, because Khamenei's order was already embedded in the doctrine. If America strikes, the missiles fly, automatically, without deliberation, without the window that American planners hope to exploit by moving fast enough to disable Iranian command and control before retaliation could be authorized. That window never existed. The missiles were always going to fly. Iran simultaneously cut its own internet, dropping national connectivity to 4% of normal levels. The same playbook used in June 2025. The regime is managing information flow inside its own borders, while its missiles are already in the air over Israel. An Iranian parliamentarian went on state television and said, "We had previously announced we would have no red lines. Our response will be regret-inducing. We will use all of our capacities." No red lines, all capacities. Those two phrases, spoken on live television while missiles are already airborne, describe exactly what the four-layer succession government was built to produce. A response that does not depend on any individual surviving the first strike, that cannot be stopped by killing any single leader, that was pre-authorized and pre-positioned for precisely this morning. The Israeli Defense Forces detected the incoming launches. Air raid sirens began sounding across Israel. The entire civilian population of the country that authorized this operation this morning went underground, into safe rooms and bomb shelters, waiting to find out what Iran's rebuilt arsenal actually looks like when fully deployed. Not the 574 missiles Iran fired in the June 2025 conflict, when American and Israeli defense systems intercepted the vast majority. Iran has spent the past 8 months reconstituting its arsenal under maximum sanctions. Estimates now put the rebuilt stockpile at approximately 2,000 missiles. And the American interceptor stockpile that would need to stop them is already depleted from previous engagements, distributed across every military commitment worldwide. The airspace around the conflict zone is closing in real time. Lufthansa suspended flights to and from Tel Aviv, Beirut, and Oman through March 7th. KLM canceled flights from Amsterdam to Tel Aviv. Commercial aviation is shutting down across the region. U.S. embassies in Bahrain and Qatar implemented shelter-in-place orders for all personnel and advised American citizens in the region to do the same. The 5,000 sailors aboard the USS Gerald R. Ford, who had spent 11 months at sea, who had emailed journalists saying they wanted to resign, are now in the operational theater of the largest American military engagement in 23 years, within range of hypersonic missiles whose 4 to 6 minute flight times leave no meaningful intercept window. The economic consequences are no longer predictions. They are scheduled events. Oil prices were already at 6-month highs before the first bomb fell. When Asian markets open Sunday morning in Tokyo, Hong Kong, and Shanghai, followed by London, then New York, they will open with confirmation that the war everyone was pricing as a risk is now a fact. Every investment model, every portfolio hedge, every sovereign wealth fund calculation built on the assumption of diplomatic resolution will need to be rebuilt before Monday's opening bell. The single most urgent economic question on Earth right now is the Strait of Hormuz. 20% of the world's entire oil supply passes through that waterway. Iran announced through back channels to Saudi Arabia before this operation began that its first response to any American strike would be the closure of the strait. Saudi Arabia pre-positioned emergency oil supplies specifically in anticipation of that closure. Those reserves provide roughly 10 to 15 days of cushion. After that, the global economy faces a supply shock on a scale not seen since 1973. The closure does not require a phone call from Tehran. The Iranian naval units that would execute it operate under pre-delegated authority. They do not need Khamenei alive. They do not need anyone in Tehran to give an order. The order was already given. This is also the second time Iran has been attacked while actively negotiating with American intermediaries. The first being the June 2025 conflict that ended with U.S. strikes on Iranian nuclear sites. Every government on Earth watching this, China, Russia, North Korea, every country America has urged to pursue diplomacy rather than develop independent military capabilities, is now watching what happens to a country that negotiates with the United States and gets bombed twice during the negotiations. Khamenei is alive this morning. He is in a secure location. That fact matters enormously because Hezbollah has stated publicly that Khamenei's survival is its red line for entering the war as a full combatant. That red line was not crossed in the first wave. Whether Hezbollah enters this conflict is still an open question, still pending, still waiting on information that will only become clear in the hours ahead. Military analysts describe what comes next as intense mutual attrition. America can sustain approximately 1 week of this conflict at current operational tempo before its depleted interceptor stockpiles and stretched naval commitments create serious vulnerabilities. Iran rebuilt its entire missile arsenal in 8 months under maximum sanctions. The mathematics of attrition favor the side that manufactures its weapons domestically and does not depend on congressional appropriations to reload its launchers. An Iranian member of parliament posted a single sentence on social media within minutes of the first strike. It is the most important statement made by any official on any side today. He wrote, "We warned you. Now you have started down a path whose end is no longer in your control." That is not a threat. That is a description of a system that has been activated. Pre-positioned forces, pre-delegated authorities, pre-planned responses, and pre-supplied weapons that will now execute according to their own logic, regardless of what any political leader on any side decides in the next 24 hours. The war that has been building for 6 weeks is no longer coming. It is here. The U.S. and Israel struck Iran at 2:30 this morning. Iran has launched its first wave of retaliatory missiles. The decision on the Strait of Hormuz is hours away.